Hey, yeah, one of the things I'm finding really interesting about AI is how it's changing a little bit over the last few months. It used to be when you'd go on to Gemini, Google's Gemini, I think it's Google, and I was doing a lot of research on who. I was reading a lot of what's her name, Whitney Webb, and her books, and reading other things to find out, you know, about the Italian mob and the Jewish mob and the banking industry and stuff like that. And it used to be when I would go on and she would throw a name out, or I would hear a name through the internet about somebody influential in the banking business or in politics or whatever. I'd ask simple questions like, "Are they Jewish? Are they Zionists? Are they whatever?" That kind of thing. To maybe figure out where their motivations are, what their philosophy is, etc. And for a long time, it would be just, oh yeah, this person is born of Jewish parents, so they wouldn't say they were Jewish, because a lot of American Jews, especially, are not really practicing Jews. They don't keep kosher, etc. Okay, see you. Have fun. So it's interesting that within the last few weeks, however, what I'm getting now is there's no record available about the religious or ethnic background of this person and blah blah blah, and I got that from Gemini. So I switched over to X, or to Grok right now, Grok, which comes from a Heinlein book that I read back in the '60s, called "Stranger in a Strange Land." Grok is the ability to understand something deeply, almost to the point where you merge with it. It's kind of a dualistic, Hinduistic, Asian, Oriental kind of a philosophy thing that Heinlein liked to throw in his books now and then. Plus, he loved redheads, which I have to agree with him on that. Anyway, he invented this word called Grok, and Grok is now the name that Musk has for his AI system. Just on one, I don't know how possibly he's going to colonize Mars when it doesn't have an electromagnetic field around the planet. So anyway, that's a completely different thing. I know I'm weaving like the master Donald Trump does. One of the interesting things I heard about this week was something called the Masters of the Universe, which was a retired Jewish senator from, I don't know, from Minnesota or somewhere like that, who talked about why can't the Jews shut people up about bad news in Israel and stuff like that? They are, after all, the masters of the universe, and they have taken over communications and the media, which is pretty obvious to anybody. Of course, that means you're an anti-Semite if you believe it, or you're just smart. So back to my issue about the AI. You have to be really careful with AI now because it's being groomed, let's call it. That's a nice term that they're using a lot. It's popular in Great Britain right now for Muslims who are grooming little girls to become good wives. In other words, obedient and accepted, being treated like cattle or prostitutes or whatever the fantastic thing they have in their mind is about how women should be groomed. Grooming also occurs on the internet when the various people who put data into the internet decide what data goes in and what data does not. So within the last few weeks, I've noticed a change from the instant availability of somebody telling me the biography of individuals that I'm curious about, including their religious background, their ethnic background. Now with Gemini and Google, who has, by the way, interesting political connections, they don't want to talk about anybody's biography at all, curriculum vitae, etc. They will give you phrases. They don't know what's. It's not publicly available who is Jewish and who is not. Then, of course, you switch to Grok and you immediately find out the person you suspected of having a particular political philosophy is, in fact, that kind of person. They're a Zionist, or they're an extremist of one kind or another, or they're a self-righteous son of a bitch. So it's clear that you've really got to be careful at what AI you use. Use several of them. I don't trust Sam Altman at all, so I don't use Chat GDP at all. I think he's a weasel. He's a lot like Zuckerberg was at Harvard when he sued his fellow inventors of the idea for, what was it, Facebook or whatever the hell he was running at the time. Now he's running, what is it called, Meta. Interesting name. In any case, you should know, be careful out there. The AI is not going to be that helpful when you're looking for facts. It's going to give you the facts that it has, and if certain facts are being left out, or it's been told not to discuss a certain fact, or not present the common unwashed masses with a fact, then you're not going to get that information. Whether they're going to do enough to really shut people up about what's going on in Gaza, or what's going on in corporate America, what's going on in the two horrible political parties we have now that don't work for us. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm sure Trump is now going to take a trouncing, as they say in England, a licking, a whooping, as W would say. You know, the guy who pushed us into a war with Iraq, with the help, of course, of Netanyahu. So anyway, I know I'm weaving again, like our popular president, most popular president, by the way, in the history of the world. If you didn't know that, master of words, master of women, master of wonder. In any case, yeah. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is when you begin to argue the issue like Zionism, etc., with your AI, you're going to find long strings of laws and word salads and delicious other things like that justify the racial intolerance of the Zionist movement, religious intolerance, or racial, or both, conveniently both, in one package. While the Guggenheim, built by people who were known Zionists, tries to lecture you about tolerance in New York City. I went there, my wife's Jewish, and she asked me, would I like to go and visit the Guggenheim? And I said, no, I really don't. And she said, why not? And I had to explain to her, and she agreed it's probably not a very comfortable thing for me to do, or frankly for her to do, and so we didn't go. Anyway, the whole idea about Zionism and the whole idea about ultimately arguing with Gemini AI about it, I couldn't get them to come across and admit that the whole idea of white colonialism was in fact the truth about what the Zionist movement was. Because what I started the question that I asked it was, why is DNA testing illegal? Not really illegal, but tightly regulated in Israel. And because I thought, wow, that's really weird. Now I know the reason why is because they don't want anybody to find out how little real, true Semitic heritage Ashkenazi Jews and the rest of the Jews that claiming to be, the original people of Moses escaping from the evil Pharaoh, was it Ramses II or Ramses the Great or whatever he was, and all the shit that is in the stories from Cecil B. DeMille, etc., about the Ten Commandments and all of that shit that we were spoon fed as kids about how wonderful Israel is and all of that. So when I asked it about this issue of DNA testing, it said, "Oh no, the laws are really there to protect people against traumatic experiences and all of that stuff." And I thought, well, so I dug a lot deeper there. I said, what are the traumatic experiences that people can, why their child might find out that their dad is not their mom, or their mom is not their real dad, or one thing or another, and I went on, and all of these things. Oh, it'd be horrible for people to actually know facts about their own bloodline, about their own inheritance. These things could be very damaging to people. And so what I dug down further and further and further until I got it to admit that, yes, They really don't want people to know what their heritage is, because if they knew their heritage, then the justification of sterilizing hundreds or maybe even thousands of Ethiopian women, who are black, by the way, back in when they got to go to Israel, because they didn't want them having any kids. They don't want any black Jews. So they made sure that they sterilized them. Maybe it was by accident. Who knows? They're still investigating. Like Netanyahu's investigating every conspiracy that he's been involved in, every murderous activity that the Israelis have been involved in. They're all being investigated. The murdering of people all over Gaza, the West Bank, etc. They're all being investigated. Rest assured that someday those investigations will begin. No, they're probably already begun, but they will be resolved, and it'll find out that none of that happened. Anyway, back to the DNA thing, I just found it really curious, and I think that's a really good thread. If you want to dig into something and find out how biased your AI is, ask it a lot about the ramifications of regulating DNA testing, which they do in Israel, and you're going to find out pretty quickly whether or not you can rely on anything that's coming out of the AI system that you think is so trustworthy. Anyway, I've done 11 minutes now on this thing, and I hope that entertains somebody. I hope that informs somebody, and I hope some people are really pissed off about what I just said. I don't know how long the internet's going to last, but certainly the elites, as I like to call them, yeah, I know I'm a radical conspiratorialist. The elites they've got to understand that they've left this door wide open for people to go in the back room where all the men are smoking cigars and making deals, and we can all read the Testament. And so they're going to have to do something to shut this down. Google helps a lot, and through YouTube censoring, etc. A lot of other of these large corporations are helping a lot to make sure that the information is sanitized before you view it, because clearly you can't be having this information to you. There's something wrong with you. You're too stupid to really understand it or handle it, and you need to be protected from it. Not only DNA, but any other information that the elites deem is dangerous to us, dangerous to us all. Okay, so that's all I want to say for today. As the Chinese say, the curse is the following, and I will quote it as far as I remember it from Chinese, and I won't quote it in Chinese because I'm not that smart, but the quote is simply, "May you live in interesting times." We sure do. And they're getting more interestinger every day. Anyway, Jesus wept. We know why. Talk to you later. Bye, bye, bye.